Sorry I went.
Anybody got any bows and arrows out there? I won't turn around. Rudy?
Jack, not defending John entirely, but what I think he was saying specifically was that data prepared for a specific purpose, specific project area. You want to make sure it stays within that space rather than a general release for something, let's say, control for something that wasn't intended for. And I think that's what he was trying to restrict it. I don't think he'd have a problem necessarily if somehow the liability could be lifted,
certainly,
as it is on us. If the liability could be lifted in that process of making it public.
Those are excellent points, and those are part of the details that you need to work through with your client base and understand that if I'm providing this to you, there's an inherent liability on my part as a provider of that data, i.e., I need some compensation. I mean, there's always, the devil is in the details. There's no question about it. But I really think we need to be proactive to this situation and providing data and not reactive and trying to figure out how we can restrict it. Just a personal opinion. I'll turn around and get your bows and arrows out. Geospatial technologies continue to evolve. Professional services firms will be the resource that fuels the delivery of geospatial content. Anybody agree with that? Disagree with that? I mean, as we continue to evolve, will we not continue to provide geospatial content? Absolutely. Only if you're willing to get off the fence and make it happen. If you're going to continue to just keep your data, hoard it, do whatever you do, but you don't get it out there and you don't go and talk, you don't go like Robert said, said earlier when I was in the last part of his session, you got to figure out which door those GIS people are going in and out of so that you can talk to them and help become a part of this evolution of geospatial data. And I think I got a bullet point to kind of address that. Sometimes I have a tendency to get ahead of myself here. So. A great deal of trust has been placed in us as licensed professionals, okay? I mean, really, if you stop and think about it, that's what we have. That's what we bring to the table. And that trust has been built over a number of years through relationships with our peers and our co-workers. These are the people that are needing these geospatial data sets. I would submit to you that trust will only strengthen and grow if you decide to get off the fence and start providing geospatial content. Part of what I've been hearing for the last few years is, how do I get involved? You get involved through the contacts you know, and you expand your services and offerings. And we're going to talk about that in a few more slides as well, so that you don't walk out of here with part of the story, at least from my perspective. But that's what we have in our pocket already. All we need to do is try to figure out how we build upon those relationships. And we're talking about relationships that sometimes extend back a number of years. It's like Ernest Sonoy, a friend of mine sitting in the back of the room there from Tucson. He's fostered a relationship with a county back there in Arizona, and he's probably working on the same project, what, going on 5 years, Ernie?
Yeah, this will be the 8th year.
8th year. Okay? What happens in the surveying and engineering profession from a business standpoint on a normal basis? I'll try to do this backwards. It's doing this. This is what your workload's doing. What happens when you interject GIS and geospatial data services into your business plan is it does this. And for those of you who don't understand graphs, that's a good thing. It doesn't mean it's dead. It just means it's just humming along. Okay? It's not having a cardiac arrest. It's just humming along. Okay? That's what's going on. So you want this. Increased need for base data. This is, I mean, look at these layers that, as surveyors and engineers, you guys have your finger on these base data sets. These are the core data sets that make up any vital, mature GIS system, right, Ray? I mean, this is the stuff that we do. Seems to be extending off the slide a little bit. That's okay. I think you get the point. Land ownership, transportation, elevation, boundaries, geodetic control, utilities, imagery. We're always working with those types of data sets. And that means we can continue to work with them and we can continue to support and provide them. The reason we're going to have, there's an increased need for these things, just back, remember a couple slides ago, you got that parcel base and that imagery and they just don't quite work out. Well, that's a perfect example is this accuracy thing keeps coming back. ESRI understands. That's why they started holding the summit. Those digitizing days are over. It's not accurate enough to provide the solutions and the answers and to be able to overlay these data sets and create a new data set that starts to restrict property rights or limits what a person can do. If you got inaccuracy in that process, the whole thing falls flat. Any good attorney will tear it to pieces. So accuracy is what's going to drive the geospatial industry in the future. Back to measurement. What we do. We need to be involved in that creation of accurate data sets. And I'm not saying every data set, and I'm not saying you need to be the whiz-bang guy managing the GIS department at some county or whatever. But if you've ever been there, and I have, I've wore both hats, public and private sector, implementations in both environments, you will understand we're all doing the same stuff. So just get on board and recognize that this train is coming, or like we said yesterday, I tried to throw it to the panel and I think they failed on my question, but maybe I didn't make myself clear. Is GIS coming back around to the survey community? Absolutely. Because of this issue of accuracy. That boat left. We didn't get on it. Some of you didn't get on it. I got on it 20 years ago. But that boat's coming back around because it's now cost effective to do accurate inventories, to create accurate parcel bases, and to fix some of the wrongs that are in GIS data sets today.
I think part of it, Jack, is that you said it before, inadvertently the engineers had been a part of the foundation. It wasn't inadvertent, but GIS had to prove itself. And it needed fast and inexpensive data. And it's gone out there and it's now proven itself as a geospatial technology. And now it's coming back to, you know what, now we need to rebuild this thing. And those ships did leave, the little ones, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria, but now we found
Titanic!
The big ship's getting ready to go. And the thing is, the geospatial professionals are coming back and they need these surveyors to provide this good measurement. Just like they needed good programmers and cartographers. And the problem is if the surveyors and the engineers aren't going to get on board, the geospatial community is moving forward.
It's not stopping. That train is not stopping.
If you provide those services, they'll continue to use you. They don't have to build it in-house. But if you force them to build it in-house, you're going to have to try to catch up with that ship, and it's proven that you can do it cheaper. And if they've already built it in-house, they're not going to need you. Yeah. So I think that's where you're at. You're out there.
I agree wholeheartedly with you, Ray. I mean, you're right on target. You guys preaching the same gospel, and I think there's a lot of other people in the same room that are doing the same thing as we go through this. You know, interject. I'm okay with that.
Well, you'll need to convince them too that geodetic control should be the bottom layer.
I see the smoke coming out of your ears back there. We'll get to you in a minute, Michael.
Accuracy is heard from once again. Thank you, Michael.
The need for geospatial professionals. You know, we talked a little bit yesterday about, well, are we talking about professionalism or are we talking about an industry? I've heard that bandied about here, walking around the halls talking to other people. Well, we need professionals in this industry. And I just want to point out, that can mean a lot of different things. It means different things to different people, and depending on which hat you're wearing, whether you're a surveyor, whether you're a GIS practitioner, whether you're an engineer, whether you're an environmentalist, whatever the case may be, there's a need for geospatial professionals, and it's going to be categorized in